In this video, we'll be taking a look at one college football game happening on January 19, 2026, and providing you with a free team pick and total pick for this game. So 2 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on this one college football game after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start, if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Miami versus Indiana. The long grind of the season is finally boiling down to one night in Miami Gardens. National Championship, Hard Rock Stadium. Top-seeded Indiana on one sideline, unbeaten and polished. Miami on the other, the lower seed that has crashed this playoff party by knocking off Texas Agricultural and Mechanical, Ohio State, and Ole Miss in a row. It is a classic storyline match. One team has felt inevitable for months, the other feels like it is running on pure belief and bruises. Indiana rolled Alabama and Oregon in a way that made both wins look almost routine, which is not an easy trick in games of that magnitude. Miami, on the other hand, has had to grind through 3 straight battles against physical, high-powered offenses just to get here. So the obvious question for bettors becomes simple, even if the answer is not. Are you really comfortable laying a big number against a home underdog that keeps ruining carefully crafted brackets? Here is the thing. I went against Indiana a week ago, and that ticket barely had a pulse. The Hoosiers looked every bit like a buzzsaw. Yet I still find myself fading Curt Cignetti again, even if this time it is more cautious than defiant. It is not that Indiana has suddenly become overrated as a team on the field, it is that the price on them in the market has climbed to a point where you are paying a premium for what they have already done. Think about how this line has moved. We opened around a touchdown, which felt fair for a neutral field type rating. Now we are flirting with a spread that is close to double digits. That is a big jump for a game where Miami is 3-0 against the number in the postseason and is playing in its own stadium in front of fans who can walk to the tailgate. When you back Indiana here, you are effectively paying top dollar for the very peak of their perceived value, which is not usually where long-term profits live. Miami's seed screams Cinderella, but their actual play on the field does not. This is not some lucky outfit living off tipped passes and fluky special teams. The defense looks as sharp as it has all year, and the offense has grown more comfortable with each playoff game. Mario Cristobal's group is tackling well, communicating well, and playing with a calm that you would not always associate with a team that supposedly was not meant to be here. Of course, the test in front of them is massive. Fernando Mendoza has been a nightmare for defenses all season. Indiana's offense is balanced, efficient, and ruthless on scheduled downs. Second in success rate, second in expected points added per play, first in points per drive. Those are not the numbers of a cute story, those are the numbers of a machine. Miami's defense has just come out of a playoff stretch where it handled Trinidad Chambliss and that Ole Miss offense, the Texas Agricultural and Mechanical attack, and the Ohio State wide receiver room. So this is not the first time it has seen fire. That matter, they have already been living in that world where every missed tackle is 6 points. Along the line of scrimmage, where so many titles quietly tilt, Miami is not outgunned. The Hurricanes are big, mean, and organized up front. They can get pressure without having to bring the house, which makes life easier for a secondary that now likely gets a lift from the return of O.J. Frederick. They can also run the ball with Mark Fletcher Jr., and they have done that against both Texas Agricultural and Mechanical and Ohio State, 2 defenses that are not exactly soft. So while Indiana's defensive front has been one of the most respected groups in the country, it is not some monster that Miami's ground game has never seen before. Indiana's defense still deserves all its flowers. It has been a top 5 unit across the season. The Hoosiers tackle, they rally, they adjust. They are third in scoring offense and second in scoring defense, and they rarely gift free possessions or cheap field position. That is why so many people simply assume they will roll out of bed and execute again. However, the physical blueprint Miami brings is not entirely new to Indiana. The Hoosiers have already faced big, bruising teams such as Penn State, Iowa, and Ohio State. Those games were decided by an average margin of 3.6 points. Indiana survived, but those were not walkovers. Miami's lines are at least in that same tier, and you could argue that this Hurricanes front has even more juice in some spots. So it is not unreasonable to picture another tight, heavy-hitting contest where every yard feels negotiated. There is also the environment to consider. This is a true home game for Miami. Indiana has to fly in and deal with all the usual championship week noise. Miami gets to drive across town to Hard Rock. It is going to be wild in Miami Gardens as a fan base that has spent years talking about the program's glory days suddenly sees a path back to that level. Crowd noise does not automatically cash tickets, but in a game with this kind of spread, it can certainly tilt a third and long or two. Honestly, I still expect Indiana to play well. The Hoosiers have been a wrecking ball in the playoff and are absolutely capable of walking out with a trophy. They are disciplined, well-coached, and strong in all three phases. I just cannot get comfortable laying this inflated number now that we are beyond a full possession, especially when the supposed underdog has both form and familiarity with the building on its side. Miami has been disrespected by the market for most of this run. People keep anchoring to their regular season slip-ups and somehow ignoring what they have just done to Ole Miss and Ohio State. The Canes keep stepping into these games as underdogs, then walking out with both the win and the cover. At some point, that is not noise. It is a team profile that is being mispriced. So I circle back to the basic question. Would I rather lay a big number with the unbeaten favorite that everyone has already crowned, or take generous points with a battle-tested home dog that is thriving in the trenches? I honestly do not understand this line as it stands, and I genuinely believe Miami can win this outright if a few key plays go their way. I will still respect Indiana's ceiling, but from a betting standpoint, I would rather trust Cristobal's group to keep this thing tight and maybe even steal it. As our first pick for this matchup, the Miami Florida Hurricanes to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Both offenses have had stretches this postseason where they looked almost unstoppable. Indiana has marched up and down the field on good teams, and Miami has found answers in key moments against tough defenses. Yet underneath all the highlight plays, this is still a matchup between two of the best defensive units in the country. Miami has seen a steady stream of strong offenses all year. Despite that, the Hurricanes rank 9th in success rate allowed and 6th in points per drive allowed. Those numbers tell you they are not just living off turnovers or lucky bounces. They are consistently forcing teams into bad downs and awkward choices. On the other side, Miami's ground game has looked efficient in this playoff stretch, even when the opponent had real muscle in the front seven. Mark Fletcher Jr. has found room where there did not appear to be much, and the line has created enough push to keep the playbook open. Even so, it is a real question whether that continues at the same rate against an Indiana defense that sits 3rd in rushing success rate allowed and 2nd in opponent expected points added per rush, according to CFP graphs. If Miami has to work for every 3 or 4 yard gain, the clock will keep running while the scoreboard moves slowly. Passing situations could be just as demanding. Opposing quarterbacks have struggled when pressured against this Hoosiers defense, and the secondary has held up well against a wide variety of passing schemes. That combination tends to create stalled drives and field goal attempts instead of quick strike touchdowns. If Miami's passing game is forced into long yardage downs often, it is hard to picture a clean, free-flowing offensive showcase. Miami's likely approach also nudges things toward a lower scoring script. The Hurricanes are built to grind games down. They can lean on the run, rely on their front seven, and trust the defense to keep things within reach. A slower pace does not mean boring football, it just means fewer possessions and more pressure on each one. That usually benefits the better defenses, which both teams have. Could Indiana still break this wide open? Sure, when you have an offense as efficient as the Hoosiers, there is always a risk that a couple of explosive plays or short fields flip the whole tone of the night. 1 or 2 blown coverages, 1 kick return that gets out, and suddenly a game that felt like a grind is sitting in shootout territory. But you also have to balance what is possible against what is likely. As soon as one team clearly wants to slow a game down, especially one with elite defenses on both sidelines, the under starts to look very appealing. Each sustained drive that ends in 3 points instead of 7, or in a punt instead of a touchdown, nudges the total away from a fireworks show and closer to a steady, methodical contest. There is also the number itself. 48 is a key total in college football. A lot of common score combinations settle around that range, so it is not just some random figure on the board. If you think there is even a modest chance this turning into a field position battle where both teams tighten up in the red zone, then you have to at least consider the lower side of that number. Taking everything together, from Miami's consistent defensive performance against strong offenses to Indiana's excellence against the run and the likely grinded-out style, I keep coming back to a game that feels tighter and lower scoring than the market is suggesting. I lean toward a national title that looks more like a physical chess match than a track meet. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.